We have bacon and eggs, which you say is excessive because we have French toast. And I like to have an egg on atop my French toast. I just think it's
Well, that's gonna be interesting.
That's gonna be interesting.
I just thought.
Hey, look! Now
I thought maybe there was a way
that you could watch the live.
I know that there's like usually one person watching while we're doing.
We didn't have a coffee either. This could be fun. I could trick your brain right now by asking you a somewhat normal to abnormal question. What could be the question? Oh, you know what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do the contest every day. So anybody that comments, likes, shares, subscribes to YouTube, go to YouTube and subscribe to Ashes to Rubies at YouTube. If anybody does any action, I'll put all of your names into a hat every Monday call it Fun Day Monday, but it's probably already been used by 100 different people. But Monday, I feel, is like that day that we could do a draw. And so collectively, all the people that engage with our post, I'll put them in the draw, and it'll be like the Monday draw. Woo! It'll be Sunday service, Saturday Ruby breakfast. We're getting there. Anything exciting happen? You're in a conference.
Yeah, so I'm doing a conference this weekend.
Zoom conference.
Yeah, but I am really appreciating this book. Like, I feel like reading this book every day, there's things that I remember from it. So thank you.
I like your little dress.
This is not a hobo dress.
Yesterday was a hobo dress.
Yesterday he called it a hobo
dress. No offense to hobos, but if you're not one, you don't have to look like one, in my opinion.
Summer comfortable dresses are fine. And, that's a great marriage tip.
Don't dress like a hobo.
Tell your wife she looks like she's wearing a hobo dress.
And anyway. All right. Coffee will come after.
Yesterday, I really liked our discussion about, like, what do you mean when you talk about addiction? What do you mean when you talk about... that was helpful for me.
Well, that's good. I'm glad that this book...
I've been hanging out with you for what? Way too long.
30 years.
I think maybe I'm starting to understand what you're talking about.
All right. Without further ado, we will read May 23rd, entitled... I guess it's titled, not entitled. Enjoyment.
Yay!
Enjoyment. Let's get our enjoyment on. Let's get our joy on.
Oh, this will be a good one.
Life is not to be endured. Life is to be enjoyed and embraced. The belief that we must square our shoulders and get through a meager, deprived existence of far-off rewards in heaven is a codependent belief. Yes, most of us still have times when we will be stressful and challenge our endurance skills. But in recovery, we're learning to live, to enjoy our life, and handle situations as they come. Our survival skills have served us well. They have gotten us through difficult times as children and adults. Our ability to freeze feelings, deny problems, deprive ourselves, and cope with stress has helped us get to where we are today. But we're safe now. We're learning to do more than survive. We can let go of unhealthy survival behaviors. We're learning new, better ways to protect and care for ourselves. We're free to feel our feelings, identify and solve problems, and give ourselves the best. We're free to open and come alive. Prayer for today. Today, I will let go of my unhealthy endurance and survival skills. I will choose a new mode of living, one that allows me to be alive and enjoy adventure. Life is to be enjoyed.
So there was times when lots of us had to square our shoulders and get through meager, deprived existence and
have the far off rewards in heaven.
And so then it says there's still times when, life's going to be stressful sometimes. It could challenge our endurance skills. But in recovery, We are learning to live, to enjoy life, and to handle situations as they come, instead of having our shoulders squared off and like fighting.
And not
through
being in
life.
survival mode. And I just thought of like the army guy, and he comes back from active duty, and there's things that go on there that can't go on in a normal household. They're like, you can't bring that same set of skills into a normal life hold. I think some of those skills help us get through situations, but the reality is this is God's battle. This is God's life, and he gives me enjoyment. I think that all of those things, that the problem was, it was the battle against myself. And so if I'm still continuing to battle myself, once I start to get sober, then I start battling those around me. And then there's all this tension, and there's no enjoyment, and I'm squaring my shoulders to everybody and everything. And recovery says we cease fighting everyone and everything. That's a good point of recovery. I think the dog... Do you want me to let the dog out?
Sure, let the dog out. But maybe from the other side, from the and I was explaining the word codependent to someone yesterday. Did you know that the word codependent came because they were working, like there was treatment programs for the addicts, for people with substance abuse, for people that, you know, they couldn't manage their alcohol. And so there was treatment programs, and then people started realizing that there was lots of people around all of those people. And so, and all the people around those people that had the substance abuse issues or trouble, they wind up in the treatment program, and then they're like, what do we do with all these people that are around them? And those people became the of the dependent. So the dependent is dependent on drugs and alcohol, and the is dependent on the person who is dependent on the drugs and alcohol.
But then you pointed out a week ago that I was actually dependent on you as well.
Because
I'm a consumer, so I consume people and alcohol.
Right, because any person who depends on another person for them to be okay, right? So if my life is revolving around... So what they realized is there was all these people that their life revolved around this person who was dependent on drugs and alcohol. All these people, their lives had been destroyed by this person and so deeply affected. They were not okay if this person was not okay. And so as soon as you become in all these unhealthy relationships where you actually can't communicate well, you're constantly battling with people, though that's where they coined the term, which I find is a terrible term. Someone said,
"Oh, do you ever?"
Well, no, but someone said,
I think most codependents hate that term.
No, but people don't understand the term.
People don't understand the term.
It's not a bad thing in the codependents that they hate the term. It's not the problem is that. So I actually explained it to someone yesterday. Oh, she said, "Oh no, I'm not codependent. I'm actually very independent." And I said, I bet you are. I believe that you are actually very independent.
That is,
and I believe you're probably
very strong.
Very likely, she is a very strong, very capable, very intelligent. She can get things done. That girl, I guarantee, can get things done. But there are people that she has in her life who are just causing ruckus and upheaval. And so I was trying to explain to her, like, you are super great at running your life, but you're not super great at putting in boundaries so that people who aren't great at running their lives don't get to destroy your life.
But then that's where she gets her, let's say, drug from. From trying to solve other people's life problems.
Why do they get to destroy my life?
You know, I remember, I recall, it was so insightful that I had no clue really what I was saying, but in 2005, I could not die from overdosing, and I could not continue to use because I went into instant psychosis. So my solution, my using comfort, actually was non-beneficial, and I remember being homeless and coming into the treatment center doors finally and saying, I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know what meds they're going to give me or whatever, but as long as this shuts up, as long as this stops, and I'm actually identifying what the problem is. And the problem is self-centeredness, self-delusion, the voices in my head that are reacting to the world around me, that are causing me to fight and prove, and it's draining, and there's no joy in it. And I realize at that moment, I'm just saying, I don't care what happens. I don't care what I need to do, but I'm willing to do whatever it takes to have joy in my life. Because I am in darkness. I'm in the depths of despair. I'm in hopelessness, and I can't die. And it's a horrible place to be. And so I think that is part of recovery, is actually having joy no matter what happens. Because life is life, and the storms are going to come. And if you have, if God is truly taking your life and you worship him, and then you get his results, and you can be joyful in every situation, I believe. And so there's lots of situations that are going to be hard for all of us. But we can still have joy. We can still pass on the message and be salt and light of the world.
So the joy comes, and that's what we were talking about today, is that we're learning to do more than survive. We can let go of unhealthy survival behaviors, and we are learning new, better ways to protect and care for ourselves. We are free to feel our feelings, identify and solve problems, and give ourselves the best. And
some of these survival behaviors are we have programmed our brains, and this is what we talked about yesterday, is actually deprogramming or reprogramming. But we have programmed our brains through addictive behaviors, through addictive relationships, through addictive substances. And I know that my last time I used drugs and alcohol was not my choice. I was programmed. I didn't have the choice to use. And so we come into recovery still, our brains need to be rewired, and there's a process. And I see, for me, it was about 2 years of actually getting rid of some of these things that actually were survival techniques. Like there was a reason that I was still alive. There's a reason you're still alive from what we went through. And so we come into recovery with our brain a mess, and we're on guard, and we're tired. We're proving ourselves. There is no joy. So recovery actually gives us joy and peace.
And I remember celebrating the first happy Christmas and all those little moments. And so I think it's important to celebrate those things and to really celebrate, new experiences that we get to have.
When you put it in that regard, I feel like I remember that, but then I feel like the Christmases get better. So do you think joy continues to grow?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you become more joyful?
Yeah. Well, remember a few weeks ago I was talking about, I don't know if it was when we were in therapy together or if I was by myself, but in therapy, they talked about the jug. And the therapist was saying, like, there's so much anger and hurt and resentment and all this stuff on top that she's like, there's just no room for the good stuff. You only have so much
capacity.
Yeah. And so the longer that we have been in recovery, the longer that we've been walking through this, the anger, the resentment, the hurt, my jug actually, it's beautiful. I believe it's pottery. It's gorgeous. And so I just think my jug is now more full of just all the good stuff. There's less
and when
yuck.
You pour it out,
so when my jug tips, what automatically comes out isn't my bitterness and my caustic remarks and my sarcasm and my frustration when things, but that
or your
happens.
Defensiveness. That never falls out.
For sure falls out. But you make sure you let me know every single time that you are on that. So
joy of the Lord.
I do feel that as we work, as we clean, we get those cobwebs cleaned out, we get that guck out of there, the joy comes out for sure more fully. For sure. I think we can.
Yeah. And I got to that place where I don't really care what being sober would give me. I care about what recovery, like all I cared about were the simple things of, I just want to feel different because that's what alcohol made me do. It instantly made me feel different and I couldn't use it anymore. So I came into recovery for the second time going like, I just need this to shut up. Like I'm sick of this. I need peace and joy.
And do you remember what your mom said to us at their 45th anniversary, I think it was? And you asked them, what's the secret to marriage? And they said, you don't save the worst for each other. You know how lots of people say that in marriage. You know, you give me your worst, and you give everybody all the good stuff of you, and I have to deal with all this garbage from you. But actually, what we do is we rub the rough edges off each other for the rest of the world. I've always remembered that, and I think about that when things happen, like that we're actually not here on this earth just for ourselves. We're actually here to try to pass on a message and make a better world. And so we're rubbing the rough edges off each other for the rest of the world. And there's a lot of joy in that.
Lucky each other. There's so much joy. All right. So if you engage these posts, the draw for a t-shirt or a hat or a 6-pack of kombucha, if you live in the Ottawa region, we'll draw that on Monday morning. And then
or this book.
The 4th of June is we have our virtual gala benefit at 7:30 p.m. June the 4th. So there'll be a link in the bio, and you can come and join us for it's only an hour of some impact stories and whatnot, and then a little bit of an auction. You could win Booch for a year.
Really? That's a prize?
That's going to be a prize.
Booch for a year? Like a case of kombucha a month kind of thing?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
And that's all I can say.
That's all you can say?
That's all I will say.
That's all you will say. You could say more, but you won't say more.
I could say more. All right.
You'll say more.
A blessed
You'll say lots
Saturday.
All day.
Get outside. Get that vitamin D going. Boost your immune system. Drink a kombucha.
Are you going to go make me a coffee
and
now?
And wash your hands.
You're going to go make me...
I don't know.
Please.
I don't feel like
Please make me
It'll bring me joy.